Hey guys, so I kind of came up with a new method for doing kind of a cheaper molding, casting type of process here, which really only cost me a few dollars, assuming you have some of the supplies already. So I'm working on Black Myth Wukong costume here, and I'm starting with the face, and he's got these kind of large, heavy pinion crown thingy going on here. So from there, I knew I was going to need to make the mask pretty rigid because it's going to need to be able to just hug my face really tightly so that this crown thingy can stay in place. So that kind of ruled out the idea of doing like a latex or foam clay type of product here. And I ended up wanting to go with some sort of worbla so that I could match it to my face. Once I cast it, I can heat it up. I can really adhere it around my eyes and get it really close to my own natural geometry here. So I started with just a clay sculpture based off of the pictures here as best I could. And from there, I ended up preparing it for the plaster. And I cut out the eyes for negatives. I put this kind of rim of clay around it just to kind of provide like a good edge. And from there, I ended up coating it with plaster. I just bought some really cheap bag of plaster. It's like $7.99 for this thing. Cast it, let it sit for a day, and demolding it was actually a real pain. I actually had to put this whole apparatus into my oven for a good 30 minutes to really soften up the clay, because this is not a curing, hardening type of clay. You heat it up and it actually just kind of liquefies. And from there, I was able to kind of pry it off. And what I was left with was actually a pretty complete mold that really the clay, I was surprised. I was expecting I'd be digging the clay out of the pores, but it really wasn't the case at all. It really came off pretty well, despite the fact that I didn't spray the clay with any kind of release agent. It came off really well, and from there, I just had a scrap piece of black worbla laying around, heated it up pretty thoroughly. Tried to press it into the cheeks. It was kind of difficult. It kept sticking to my fingers once it was really, really warm. But as it cooled off a little bit, I was able to really press it in there. And as you can see, as I pull it up and hold it up to the light, that it actually does capture the skin wrinkles pretty well. I'm pretty surprised for just a practice piece like this. How well this ended up working out and how cheap this all cost. I mean, I probably could have made this actually much smaller, used half the plaster maybe. And, you know, and just the cost of the pieces of worbla, I mean, this is incredibly cheap when you compare it to something like Smooth On. Now, of course, this isn't professional grade quality, but I mean, it's picking up skin wrinkles. So I'm pretty impressed that this actually worked out, and I'm probably going to apply this to other pieces in the costume, where you have these kind of pieces that kind of repeat, and I can just make a single plaster mold of it, press the worbla in there, and 5 minutes later pull it out and press a new piece in. And suddenly, for like 50 cents worth of plaster and some worbla, I've got a pretty effective mold here. So I'm pretty thrilled with this, and I'm hoping I can apply this to other parts in the costume. If not with worbla, maybe in some places with foam clay. I don't see why I couldn't just press foam clay in there, and then, because most of this costume is going to be EVA foam as it is, and go from there. But I wanted to share this because this seemed like a pretty decent way to go about something like this. If you don't feel like spending $40 for 2 cups of Smooth On product. But hope this helps.